I am absolutely stunned by what we just experienced with the characters across the board, but most importantly, Daida once again. I really think in shows like these, and stories like these in particular, a character like Daida, who's kind of like an envious prince because he technically has the skills to be a king, but given the lineage and how everything's happening, most likely Boji would be picked first, and when you do compare the two, it's understandable how he would get in his mind that he's more worthy. And despite all the training, nothing seems to be working out the way that it should. And a magic mirror whispering in your ear and just everything like that, it starts to corrupt. So you naturally assume Daida will just be the person who tries to kill Boji, and that's his character. And then Boji will rise to the occasion, defeat Daida, either save his soul, or Daida will sacrifice himself to save Boji, and that's how it ends. That's typically like the almost Disney-like formula. But what we're witnessing with Daida is that he's a character it's hard not to admire his resolve. When his father was smoothied into a goddamn phoenix to then smoothied again into this holy blood that would literally give the king's power to Daida, despite having voices and literal, assassin figures saying, drink the blood or we're gonna force it down your throat. He not only kicked some ass and took some names, he got rid of the blood. And I was shocked to see how far, despite the corruption seeping into him, despite the mirror clearly being intoxicating and clearly corrupt, nothing stopped this man from making the right decision seemingly. And that's really admirable, I have to say. What I love about the ranking of kings is how characters are complex. Minus really Boji, I don't think any character that we've seen hasn't had some actions that are questionable at the very least, right? No matter what you look at, the way you perceive people, people are complex, and whether it's, Damas, who I understand people are gonna hate for obvious reasons, but the fact that rather than just writing it as he followed order, doesn't have a guilty conscience, he does. He's literally forcing it in his mind that, the reason the horrible feeling inside of him is just because, it's his own self-worth and how he just really should have done this sooner. He never should have had to prove himself when really he never wanted to do it deep down inside, but, he is a weak bastard who's just following the orders. That's an interesting character arc. To have Kage of all characters who started off as, literally scamming the poor boy to now being the best of friends with him. The mother, everything like that, the queen. I love how characters are multi-layered, and that it isn't just a story about good versus evil, it's about the complexity of human nature, and that's really interesting. I think the biggest shocker of this episode to me was actually when they got knocked out by the cursed gas, that being Boji and Kage, because to no real surprise, Kage was the one who was kind of protecting. We got a bit more clarification past just what was likely Kage protecting from the poison meat. But I love the idea that it was also the backpack. I love the idea that when he was falling to his death, that was, it was him. He rearranged the backpack so he would fall on it. Everything about Kage, it definitely changed your opinion on where it started out itself, right? But then to see the poison gas that knocked them out, and to see this king, or a king of some sort, saying that they're already cursed, that a giant had his power taken, that being Boji, and then of course also Kage with his own curse. So it seems like the reason that Boji is like that is either a deal with the devil from the father, which the devil did pop up when the father's body was taken, the father's body down frozen with dragons and other creatures, so maybe that was just part of the magic mirror. Either way, it does seem like something has ripped away Boji's true potential, and I'm curious, by the end of the story, whether the anime sees it or not, is it something that's going to be like Boji will regain his power, or is Boji fine being who he is? Are they going to go the route of, he has the chance of becoming who he always wanted to be, or is he going to be fine with who he currently is, right? There's an interesting narrative choice that you could go with that, but either way, that has me pretty damn excited, and I love the reunion, I have to say. Him just popping out of the backpack, for me, them meeting up in this situation made total sense. I mentioned it last week that we didn't know where Kage went, so him being in the fiery pits of hell, that could be likely. But to see that Bebin actually went an even bigger mile, tasked with a mission to protect from someone that they don't know who wants to harm. And the idea of trying to be, keeping your enemies close, your allies even closer, because it very well could be someone that he looks up to. The fact that he was there the entire time, and that Bebin, of all characters, last time we saw, the spearman, like, seemingly killed him. Of course he's not actually dead. I just don't believe he's dead. I think the snakes pulled him down and treated him or something like that. I mean, if that giant, like, twin-headed snake can't heal a wound or something with venom, I'd honestly be shocked. But it's interesting because while Kage himself isn't, like, necessarily saying he trusts in Bebin, the crazy snake man, at the same time, it's clear as day the intentions were right given the circumstances and the attempted assassinations on our boy's life. And from being literally cursed to also having people trying to kill, it's interesting because in most stories it would simply just be Daida wanting to kill his brother, but there's so many different elements about Daida's character, about being envious, jealous, but also internally, as we saw last week in his dreams, recognizing that Boji will be the key to his future as long as he doesn't toss him away. So it's interesting, right? The entire episode was just about showing the complexities even more, and when they really did get down to, like, seeing the father, the king, just frozen like that. Of all the things that could have happened, like, I assume, like, ripping of the heart out, just something like that, right? That's just naturally where my mind was going. I wasn't expecting the blaze to start turning him into a mush, to then essentially being reborn as, like, a phoenix that gets its head cut off, burned alive. You mix that blood with the egg and the orb, and it's like, what in the actual hell? That's what made that, I think, so disturbing, because when Daida started, like, throwing up and was visibly upset, what I love is that I really didn't think it would be that complex, because just, like, taking of the heart or something like that, draining the blood, like, that's something that you can see happening. But the level of complexity to this ritual that is clearly evil, like, you don't want to do that. And it feels like this is going hand in hand on why so many kings are going crazy, not only just with the mere whispering in their ear, but potentially this bullshit ritual that they do. Imagining if, like, the reason so many people lose their minds is that if you're, like, consuming the blood of a crazy person, and that's happened, like, dozens of times over, like, it's gonna get worse. That madness is going to get worse and worse, and it'll be interesting because naturally the only way I could see Daida not being corrupted, even fighting against it, is if he smashes that mirror. But I highly doubt he will, so I'm curious what type of allies the mirror has and what potentially the mirror will do when Daida isn't looking or acknowledging it. Hopefully he'll try to, at the very least, lock it in a vault or something, but I mean, it's hard to say because this is clearly a character that's going to be sticking around for some time. I mean, Ranking of Kings, I've said it, is, like, easily my anime of the year, but the more I watch of it, the more I see of its characters and its world, the gorgeous backgrounds, and just the emotions and how it's always first and foremost. It's hard not to see this, like, ending up in, like, a top 5 anime for me. Like, seriously, it might be premature to some, but, like, I really haven't been this invested into something that's seasonal anyway in quite some damn time, and it's gonna be hard for me not to come out saying, like, unless somehow the story tanks, the production tanks, which really not gonna happen. I really don't see that happening. There would have been signs already being 5 episodes in. Like, I really feel like this is gonna be one of my all-time favorites, like, up in a top 5, a top 3, no joke. I am loving it, and I'm loving that it's not just Boji and Kage's relationship that's intriguing me. It's like the complexity of Domas, it's the complexity of course, the brother Daida, the Bebin, the snake wielder. Like, there's so many things about it, and I love that there's, like, guilty conscience on someone who's arguably weak, that being Domas, but the fact that he is feeling things, and the fact that he didn't go and kill the man that I thought had a death flag this entire time, even before he realizes that, you know, he pushed his, you know, prince over the mountain there, the fact that he didn't end up dying, and the fact that he ended up losing an arm or his wrist from his hand, so, you know, it's interesting. I wonder if he'll go like an almost Captain Hook route or something like that, being even more evil. But it'll be interesting. I mean, I love the show. You all know that if you've been watching it, and even if this is your first time watching a video on Ranking of Kings for me, it's clear that I love this damn show. But let me know your thoughts, feelings down below, your favorite moment, and what do you think is going to happen with the magic mirror in the future? Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.